Did you know that in Greek mythology, the god of war was once trapped inside a bronze jar for over a year? His name was Ares. Two mortal giants, the Elode brothers, Otis and Ephialtes, managed to capture him. They stuffed the most violent god on Olympus into a bronze jar and sealed it shut. And then they just left him there. Ares spent 13 months screaming inside that container while the world carried on completely fine without him. No wars, no chaos. Nobody even noticed he was missing. It was Hermes who eventually found him, half dead, barely breathing. But here's the part that really stings. Nobody on Olympus had gone looking. Not Zeus. Not Aphrodite, who was supposed to love him. Nobody cared enough to search. Ares was the god of war. He was supposed to be terrifying. He was supposed to be untouchable. And two mortal teenagers stuffed him in a jar like old leftovers. The scariest god in the pantheon was just an afterthought. Did you know that in Greek mythology, Apollo cursed a woman to always tell the truth and never be believed? Her name was Cassandra, a Trojan princess. And her story might be the cruelest punishment in all of Greek myth. Apollo was obsessed with her, so he offered her the gift of prophecy, the ability to see the future, as a way to win her over. She took the gift. Then she rejected him. And here is where Apollo showed his true character. He didn't take the power back. He just broke it. With a single curse, he made it so that no one would ever believe a word she said. Cassandra saw the fall of Troy coming. She screamed it from the walls. She begged her people to listen. They laughed at her, called her mad, dragged her away. And then every single thing she predicted came true. The fires, the deaths, the end of everything she loved. Apollo never touched her with a weapon. He used her own mind to destroy her. And that is so much worse.
Did you know a pressure accident can turn a human body inside out in less than a second? On November 5th, 1983, 4 divers were killed aboard the Byford Dolphin oil rig off the coast of Norway. Not from drowning, not from an explosion, from pressure. Saturation divers live and work at 9 atmospheres of pressure so their bodies adjust to the deep. When they surface, it happens slowly, over days. That night, a diving bell hatch was opened before the pressure was equalized. 9 atmospheres dropped to 1 in an instant. The human body is not built for that. 3 divers were killed immediately. The 4th was pulled through a small opening roughly 60 centimeters wide. What investigators found afterward was the part that got buried quietly. Internal documents showed that certain people in the chain of command understood the risks of this exact scenario. The safety procedures existed. They just were not enforced. Nobody went to prison. The rig kept operating. That is what makes this story a horror story, not the physics, the paperwork. Did you know a single drop of liquid can destroy a human brain from the inside out, and the victim won't even know it's happening? In 1997, Karen Wetterhahn was one of the world's leading experts on toxic metal poisoning. She worked at Dartmouth College. She knew more about dangerous chemicals than almost anyone alive. Then one afternoon, during a routine lab experiment, a single drop of dimethylmercury fell onto her latex glove. She felt nothing. She went home. Life continued as normal. For 5 months, she had no idea. Then the symptoms started. She lost her balance. Her speech began to slur. Her vision narrowed. Doctors ran tests and found mercury levels 40 times the lethal limit in her blood. The glove had failed. The chemical had passed straight through the latex in seconds. What makes this story almost impossible to process is that Karen was the expert. She followed every safety protocol that existed at the time. There was nothing she did wrong. She died in June 1997, 8 months after that one drop. She was 48 years old. Did you know a serial killer once hunted women like animals through the Alaskan wilderness, and the only person who could stop him was not believed? Robert Hansen baked bread in Anchorage. He won competitions. He had a wife, kids, and a reputation as one of the kindest men in town. He also had a private plane and a rifle. For over a decade, Hansen would abduct women, fly them deep into the Alaskan bush, release them, and hunt them down on foot. In 1983, a 17-year-old woman escaped. She ran to police, shaking, and told them everything. They did not believe her. Hansen was too respected, too normal, too beloved. Officers actually drove her back to him. She survived only because a state trooper named Glenn Fluff refused to let it go. He pulled flight logs, matched them to missing women, and found a map hidden in Hansen's attic with 17 locations marked on it. Each one was a grave. Hansen confessed to killing 17 women. The real number was likely higher. The wilderness hid everything. His reputation hid the rest. Did you know one man's decision inside a submarine once saved every person alive on Earth? October 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis is at its peak. A Soviet submarine called B-59 is running deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, completely cut off from Moscow. The US Navy finds it. They start dropping depth charges to force it to the surface. Inside, the crew has no idea what's happening above. The air is turning toxic. The temperature hits over 50 degrees Celsius. Men are passing out. The captain makes a decision. He believes war has already started. He orders the nuclear torpedo armed and ready to fire. Soviet protocol requires 3 senior officers to agree before launch. The first says yes. The second says yes. The third man is Vasily Arkhipov. He says no. He has no orders, no radio contact, no confirmation of anything. Just his own judgment, inside a metal tube, in total darkness, while the hull shakes from explosions above him. He refuses. The torpedo stays locked. The world doesn't learn this story for decades. One man, one word, 8 billion lives that never knew they were saved. Did you know 2 men once killed the most powerful Nazi in occupied Europe and knew before they pulled the trigger what it would cost? Reinhard Heydrich ran the Holocaust. He designed the machinery of mass murder. The Nazis called him the Blonde Beast. The Allies called him the most dangerous man in the Third Reich. In 1941, 2 Czech soldiers, Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš, were trained by British intelligence and parachuted into Nazi-occupied Prague. Their mission was simple and impossible: kill Heydrich. On May 27, 1942, they ambushed his open-top car on a sharp bend in the road. A grenade, a gunshot. 8 days later, Heydrich was dead, but Gabčík and Kubiš already knew what came next. The Nazis burned 2 entire villages to the ground. They executed over 1,300 Czech civilians in retaliation: men, women, children. The 2 assassins were cornered inside a Prague church, outnumbered 400 to 2. They fought until there was nothing left to fight with. They had known the price before they ever took the shot. They took it anyway. Did you know a US government scientist may have been thrown from a window to keep him quiet? Frank Olson worked at Fort Detrick, developing some of the most dangerous biological weapons in American history. In November 1953, CIA agents slipped LSD into his drink at a work retreat without telling him. He had no idea what was happening to his own mind. 9 days later, he was dead on the sidewalk below a New York hotel window, 13 stories down. The government called it a suicide and closed the case. It stayed closed for 20 years. Then a Senate investigation blew the lid off MKULTRA, the CIA's secret mind control program, and Olson's name surfaced. The agency quietly paid his family and said nothing more. But his son never stopped asking questions. In 1994, he had the body dug up. A forensic pathologist found blunt trauma to the skull that had nothing to do with a fall. Someone had hit him before he went through that window. The government has never explained what Frank Olson knew, or who made sure he never told anyone.